with banks. It's one of those curiosities, is it not, that for once the ANZ looks decidedly isolated. But that's its policy, it's sticking to it. So even though the other big three have moved, it's Friday is the waiting game. Just to put it into perspective though, the run of late for the banks. What are we going to see next?
We've had a great run for the banks, and that's being driven by this chase for yield. So we are expecting that to continue on market. And ANZ is going to be in focus, not so much because of that Friday interest rate meeting, where we are expecting it to move by 25 basis points in line with its peers, but because it is trading come dividends. So we could see a bit of support for the shares ahead of the stock going ex-dividend, or the stock being sold on market without its dividend from tomorrow. So those big banks very much in focus. And of course, that interest rate cut and the move yesterday, we saw a bit of an unusual reaction by the banks. Initially, we saw an uplift for the banks, but then they were sold off as the market realised that all 25 basis points would be passed on, and perhaps we wouldn't see a kick up for the net interest margins of the banks. So watching those yield plays, which were a little bit soft on the market yesterday, but with the great lead that we have from offshore markets, we are expecting to see that financial sector bouncing back quite strongly today. It was a fantastic night on markets, a record for the US stock market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closing above 15,000 points. And if we have a look at the US markets, we've seen a return of 14 to 15% for the major indices so far this year. We are also watching a couple of companies on market. Seven West Media is one to be watching, and that's because it comes out with an investor presentation today. There are some media reports in the AFR that we could see a content tie-up with Telstra, so we're watching that carefully. And of course, the other thing to keep on the radar are the China trade balance numbers, which will be out at 2 p.m, and that's likely to have an impact on the Aussie dollar as well as on the commodity space.
All right, and I would just